said, I study. He said, y'all, I teach out of my studies. The word of Yah tells us to study and show yourself approved. You're a skillful worker, a skillful teacher, one that's not ashamed. And I just thought, I said, Yahweh, you know what? I've been having a little problem with my studies. But you know how Yahweh deals with me? With my own life. With my own life. In Tabernacles, it was fear. Today, it's patience. It's patience. Learning to sit down and be able to do those things necessary for life is what I consider patience as. And my title today, y'all have patience with me. My title today is Patience, a Key to the Kingdom of Elohim. So I start off, I say a key is something that opens a particular door. You know, whatever door. If I need to get in the center, somebody has got to be here to let me into the center. So it opens a particular door or doors, allowing me to gain access to somewhere that was probably previously inaccessible to me. For Israel, the key equates to the Torah or information needed to live a successful life before Yahweh Elohim. So again, this is patience, a key to the kingdom. And I looked at this because there's a chapter in the book of Luke, and it's actually a verse that I'm looking at, but we're going to read up to that verse. Luke 21:19, but we're going to read the entire chapter up to that. Luke 21:19. And I'm going to read that one first and then go back and pick up the rest of the chapter. So Luke 21:19, and this verse had always, since, I don't know, for years, I looked at it and tried to figure out, what does that verse mean? What does it mean to possess your lives by your endurance? Now, I don't think King James says it quite that way, and I don't have the King James in front of me. But to possess, and when I think of the word possess, I think of ownership. I have to own this lifestyle. I have to own up to how Torah tells me how to live. And it says I do it by endurance or patience. Oh, yeah. Patience. Sometimes you have to learn to wait out or walk out things. We have to know how to live. Israel has to know, especially since we've been in bond. Well, we're not in bondage anymore, but we're in the diaspora. Since we've been in the diaspora, we have to know how to walk this thing out. So let's go back and start from 21, the first verse. And looking up, he saw the rich putting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw a certain poor widow putting in 2 mites. The story jumps after this, and he said, truly I say to you that this poor widow has put in more than all. She has put in more than all. Then the story jumps because we as disciples sometimes we don't see the big picture in the small story. She's a widow. She got 2 cents. She put it in the treasury. Hoorah. What did they notice? For out of all, he tells them, out of all their access, have they put in offerings for Elohim. But she out of her poverty, has put in all that she has had to live on. I know this widow, I think. I think I know this widow. And some were speaking about the set apart place, that it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said. These that you see, the days are coming in which not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. And they asked him, saying, Teacher, but when shall this be? And what is the sign when this is about to take place? And he said, See that you are not led astray. But many shall come in my name, saying, I am. And the time is near. Then do not go after them. But when you hear of fightings and interest and of unrest, do not be alarmed. For these have to take place first, but the end is not immediately. Then he said to them, nation shall rise against nation and reign against reign. And it's interesting because when I saw this word and looked it up, nations or HaGoyim can mean ethnicities. And we know we're seeing a lot of ethnic groups on the run. We're seeing ethnic problems here in the United States. Exactly. Then he said to them, nation shall rise against nation and reign against reign. And there shall be great earthquakes in various places and scarcities of food and deadly diseases. And there shall be horrors and great signs from heaven. But before all this, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the congregations and prisons, being brought before the sovereigns and rulers for my name's sake. And it shall then turn out to you for a witness. Therefore, resolve in your hearts not to premeditate on what to answer, for I shall give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to refute or resist. And you shall also be betrayed by parents and brothers and relatives and friends. And some of you shall be put to death, and you shall be hated by all because of my name. But not a hair of your head shall be lost at all. Possess your lives by your endurance. Possess your lives by your endurance. And I read through all of this, thinking about one person, that widow with the mite, with all the stuff that's happening in the world. You know, wars, rumors of wars, ethnicities or races or nations rising against different nations, reigns coming against reigns. His focus was actually on that widow woman. She had 2 mites. He said it was all that she had to live on. And I just thought about the 2 mites didn't possess her, but her possession she saw as in the reign or the kingdom of heaven. She wanted to put in an offering. Yahweh says, you know, don't come before me, especially when we have feasts, without some type of offering. This day, that was all she had, was her offering, her 2 mice. It was her whole livelihood. And I think about the word possession. Their dictionary says possession is to acquire, to get, or procure a thing for oneself. Right. To possess. Now I hate it when they use the word in the definition. Patience means to be steadfast, constancy, endurance, to remain, to tarry, to wait for. The verse again, 21:19, is possess your lives by your endurance. And I want to contrast a verse in Genesis. And I didn't know if I could pull it off, but that's the one that stuck with me. Genesis 21:19. Because I'm thinking about not only this woman, widow woman, but you think about folks that have to endure. You're speaking to generations. So we're going to look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And we're going to work with Genesis for a few minutes because I think that it has a lot to do with possessing your life by your endurance. And Yahweh Elohim formed the man out of dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils breath of lives. Yeah. And the man became a living being. And so you might say, what is it that you want to look at between these 2 verses, between 21:19 and verse 2:7 in Genesis? What is my point and what's my connections to Luke 20:19? The connection is patient. It is the key to obtaining and retaining any information we find valuable in life. Patience undergirds the ability to follow the Torah, the teaching and instructions of Yahweh regarding life. Do we think that waiting was not a part of the garden experience? Genesis 2:19, and from the ground Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called each living being, that was its name. Yah patiently waited for Adam to carefully read the character, the temperament, and the character of each of the living beings before he gave a name to it. It's all about possessing and enduring. How we wait on Yah, the same way that Yah is waiting on us to return to him.
Yes.
He says it is our fault that we have walked away from him, that we're in the trouble that we're in now, that we're in the mess that we're in now, because we refuse to listen to Yahweh. There's a verse, and I read it, and I don't have it written down, I don't think, but it says, even creation is waiting for the sons of Yahweh to return to where they were. For the ability to do what Adam did, call everything by its proper name, to be able to look at its character, to be able to hear its sound, to be able to watch it in motion and call it what it needs to be called, because we know we're not calling stuff correctly now. I mean, we may be in here, but as a whole, the world is no longer calling things what they are. They're making up names, they're making up rules, they're making up laws, and it's messing the world up. So creation is waiting on us. Let's go to James chapter 1. James chapter 1. James chapter 1, starting at verse 2. And we can start at 1. Yaakov, the servant of Elohim and of the Master Yeshua Messiah, to the 12 tribes who are in the dispersion. Greetings, my brothers. Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the proving of your belief works endurance or patience. We have to go through things in order to make this journey. Because guess what we are? We are the light. The world is watching us to know how am I gonna go through whatever situation. On my job, I can't get angry because they're cutting hours and stuff. They're watching me because I am the light there. They're watching you because you're the light. Blue Cross Blue Shield, Winston-Salem, Pateince County Schools, wherever you're working, you are the light placed in that place. And he says that knowing that the proving of what you believe, works endurance. Because you're either going to pass or fail. If you fail, you're going to have to go through it all over again. Because even so, Yahweh is a merciful Yah. He is not looking at any man should die and go to hell. He wants us to win. And let endurance have a perfect work. Now again, we're talking about patience, a key to the kingdom. And let endurance have a perfect work, so that you be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of Elohim, who gives to all generously and without reproach, and it shall be given to him. Now, what is wisdom? Wisdom, I say, is that branch, is one of the branches, probably coming from patience. When you learn to go through something, you get the wisdom of whatever it is that you went through. So you gain knowledge. Yahweh, in Luke 11:52, was a little bit angry with the Pharisees. Or whoever was giving out bad information, he was a little bit angry with them. Well, not a little bit. It says, woe to you learned in the Torah, because you took away the key of knowledge. You did not enter in yourselves, and those who were entering in, you hindered. So I'm saying that patience, while it is not the main key itself, it is a key. It is an avenue of getting knowledge. So this teaching is in no way saying that patience or endurance is the key, but that it is a foundation to most lessons that will be learned in Torah. It is what unlocks the door to understanding many things in life. When I think about Torah, I think about Abraham. And many folks say, well, there was no Torah in there. But apparently there was some Torah back there because Abraham knew how to follow it. Yahweh says about Abraham, he says, I want him to have kids because what will he do? He will teach his children my Torah and my laws. In teaching your children your laws, and we saw this in the garden, there has to be a level of patience. You have to be willing to work with your children because you're modeling what you want them to learn. I need for them to learn to be patient. I need for them to learn while they're going through this patience how to make right decisions, how to think through things. If they fall, I need for them to be able to reason why they need to get back up and try it again. So we see this in Abraham. We see patience worked in David when David was anointed king at 17, but it was 13 years before David ever saw the kingship, and he had to fight with a son so that he could completely reign in that kingship. You know, he had to fight, unfortunately, Shaul, who was his predecessor, the first king, before he could walk in his kingship. Because how can you imagine you have a king that's so angry with you, and every time he sees you, he wants to kill you, throwing javelins at you, throwing his daughter at you, you know, throwing everything that he can throw at you. But David believed in Yahweh, and he trusted him with all his might. You know, even when he failed, the word says that David was a man after Yahweh's own heart. Why? Because he could patiently wait for his time to reign. Because you know you're going to reign one day does not mean you're going to reign right now. So you have to learn how to patiently wait on Yahweh. In births, we see many people who had to have patience. I think about Shemuel, when his parents got news that he was going to be born. Yes. That mother went through some stuff with the other wife. You know, her husband loved her dearly, but she had to learn patience and wait it out before Yahweh while she was pleading before Yahweh. And even the priest had told her, said, woman, are you drunk? What's wrong with you? But she had to be consistent in her belief that Yahweh could renew or restore her womb. Hallelujah. And he restored her womb. So we have Samson. Parents had to believe for him. And they believed for him. Mary is a little different because Mary was not a girl of age, we don't think. Or maybe they got married young back then. But Mary had to believe Yah for what an angel told her. You know, be it unto me according to thy word. Can we be patient while we're waiting on the word of Yahweh to be successful in our life? While we are waiting for it to come to fruition, will I trust him and believe him and be trained that the word that I know that you've told me already, can I wait on that word so you can train me properly? Many times we don't want to wait. We don't want to do what Yahweh says do. We don't want to count it all joy when we fall into various trials and temptations. We just want them to fall away. But Yahweh, again, is training us up to be his service, to be the light that he wants us to be. It's proving to you. He told Israel, he says, you know what? You're going to have to go through this wilderness so that you will know what's in you. So you're knowing that it's there for the proving of your belief. This thing works patience. It works endurance. It means that I'm not just going to fall out and get mad at anything. I'm going to wait on Yahweh to see what he's going to do. And endurance has to have her perfect work, is what we heard a few minutes ago. So that you can be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. You know, it does not mean that I'm rich, but the things that I need in the spirit, I can now reach out and start grabbing hold of because I'm perfect. If any of you lacks wisdom, and wisdom is that important thing. It says if you get anything, get knowledge, get understanding, get wisdom. The Spirit of Yah wants us to have the best.
Hallelujah.
Praise Yahweh.
Hallelujah.
So patience is one of those keys that can help you return or to stay on the track of where Yahweh plans for you to be. He wants you to be successful. He trusts that you are going to study your word. He trusts that you're going to lead others by your life. And that would be it for a patience, a key to the kingdom of Elohim. A key, not the complete key, but a key that leads to life.
What my eyes can't see, I still believe everything spoken to me. There's no word that can come back for